Well, hello and welcome back to the Celebration Machine. I'm your host, Pete Hammond. Thank you for being here with me and sharing just a little bit of your day with me. I apologize for my voice. I am battling whatever current plague is going around right now. And if I sniffle, well, maybe we can cut that out. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about uh, the day I had on Saturday. I had a different video that I was supposed to upload for this for today for Sunday, but it got screwed up, so I'm going to do this one now. And I had a really powerful day Saturday, and I wanted to share it with everybody because it holds true to the vein of what I'm doing on this channel. It talks about life and it's funeral stuff, and it's also I want to celebrate a friend of mine who just blew me away on Saturday. In fact, a few people. But I'm not going to name any names because some people don't want their lives shared in that way. But when you see things that touch you, I think it's important to share them and make note of them. And I'm going to do that with you today. It'll be a shorter video, but anyway, here we go. So Saturday, I had to do a funeral for a friend of mine for her father. But before that, I had to attend a funeral for another good friend of mine whose wife had passed away. So my day started with going to that first funeral, and then I could only stay for like 25 minutes because it was very close to the time where I had to start the other funeral. But I was there with my best friend, and we were sitting in the back, and we were watching this other friend of ours who had obviously lost his wife, and he took care of her. He was her caregiver for, I think it was 10 years anyway. And that whole story one day, I actually am going to invite him on as a guest because, what he did in his role as a caregiver and just how he is as a human being is it's rare, in my opinion. And I would love to share his story here. But I just wanted to share a bit about what happened at that funeral. It was a religious funeral in a small church, and it was sort of a quiet ceremony. And I just was blown away by how my friend handled himself in that situation. He's a very stoic man. He's a very wise man. He's a beautiful man, and he carries with him an essence and a spirit that's palpable and powerful. And when he brought his wife's, when he brought the urn up, he walked up and he set the urn down at the front, and the priest was off to the right. If you're watching it, she's off to the right, and he just walked over to the left, and he stood with his back to the wall, sort of facing his wife's urn. And I never saw anyone do that in a decade of doing, funerals, and just that one gesture alone of how he stood there, presiding over the whole thing in terms of just standing, watching over his wife's, urn. It really got me, because even in death and even at the funeral, he was still caregiving and holding space for his partner. And I'm trying to share with you that because it just shows the depth that love can take you if you're willing and able to really walk that line with somebody. And I was outside with him, and we were just before the funeral was going to start, and it was cold as hell. And actually, somebody had ditched their car, so we ran down and we pushed this car to the ditch. Country funeral, right? Country folks, is how we roll. And I just said to him for the 1000th time, I said, "Man, I can't get over. I don't want to say the job you did, because when you love somebody, it's not a job, but caregiving can be a job. It's work. It tests you on every level. And I certainly have been a caregiver, but I've never been in a situation like he was in, caregiving for someone who was very ill for years." And he just looked at me and he said, "That's what love is. When you love somebody, that's what love is. That's what you do." And I said, I understand that, but I really don't know a lot of people that could have done what you did. And I just want to honor you, uh, person to person, and just tell you how, and you don't want to use the word impressed, but God damn it, I was impressed. Everybody that knows the man was impressed and just blown away by the commitment and the depth of love. Because, a relationship's like sailing a boat, right? And on a beautiful sunny day, flat seas, whatever, flat waters, calm waters, full winds, easy, the basic stuff set up right, no problem. But when you're in a storm, excuse me, when you're in a storm, man, that's a whole, what do they say? Stormy seas make the sailor. Well, sickness makes the partnership, makes the relationship, in my opinion. You don't know who you are as a person until you're tested as a caregiver, especially for someone you love. If you're not being paid professionally to care for someone, if this is a loved one and you are making that effort to take care of them, you find out a lot about yourself. My wife did that for both her parents, and I'd love to do an episode with her, but she's never getting on camera. She doesn't want to. But part of the reason why I fell as deeply in love with her as I did is because of how she took care of her mom and dad. And I can go into that, but I get emotional because, man, when you see love in action like that, it's rare, and it's beautiful. It's super beautiful and it's powerful. But going back to my buddy, he's like, well, like that's what love is. And I just kind of want to put it out there that I really hope that if you are met with the same situation with someone, that you love, you find it in you to move through that experience much like he did. And it wasn't a cakewalk, and they had hard times, and I'm sure there was, words between them, and like there is in any relationship, but sickness will push you and it'll test you, and it'll everybody involved. And but I just, in that moment, sort of the culmination of the whole experience, as he's, when he can have his rest, and sit back, right? The man stood there and presided, and you could feel his love for her, and it's powerful, and I really wish people could witness that sort of thing, because when you're close to something like that, it's if you're not a believer in love, or you're jaded, when you see that kind of stuff, more importantly when you feel it, man, you think to yourself, as hard as that must have been for him, I would love to have that level of commitment, um, and that level of respect, and obviously love. And the word love does not encompass what that experience was. It's eviscerating, and it's all the things. It's life. It's everything. And to watch him just stand there, it just blew me away. And I was telling my buddy beside me, I was just like, man, I just look at him. You could just feel it. And I was so proud to be his friend. And just as a human being, it was incredible to be in a room with somebody that had that level of I don't want to use the word mastery, but I mean that level of just love and commitment and pure heartedness. It's beautiful, and you'll know it when you see it. So I had to go, and I left there, and I ripped over to the funeral home where I was officiating my friend's father's funeral, and it was great too. I ran into a lot of old friends, and I say it was great. You got to understand something. When I'm, as a funeral celebrant, I'm not allowed to grieve or to feel sad, especially, when it's someone I know, and I'm there to be as professional as I can be. I make mistakes too. I'm a human being. I get flustered sometimes, but I always, when I'm seeing, because at this point I'm starting to bury a lot of friends' parents and stuff, and some, I've buried obviously friends that have passed as well, and so you end up running into a lot of your community and a lot of your people. It's a weird thing at first, but then you're there to do your job, So I was running into all these people, and it was like the mood was light. Like it was not. I mean, it was sad, right? But at the same time, it was a beautiful gathering. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm thinking, we need this so desperately. Not necessarily funerals, but my God, we need connection. And as much as like I'm the first guy to want to be home, especially with my wife, you know, and I go on about my wife, but and I go on about it unapologetically. But my aim is not to make anybody who does not have that in their life feel bad. I didn't meet my wife till I was 47, or start being with her. We'd met briefly a few times. That's a whole other story. But when you find peace, you hold on to it with both your hands. And I'm a greedy prick that way. I don't want to share it. I want my peace with my lady, and in our home, just like I found safe harbor, and it's beautiful, and I want that all the time. And I don't party anymore. I don't drink. I don't smoke dope anymore. None of that stuff. So it's time with my lady, coffee, chill. Because that's how I recharge, especially after doing funerals and stuff, or just coming home from my other jobs. It's just you want to chill out, and that's my safe place, my happy place, and that's where I want to be. But man, do we need connection, and I really believe that we're heading into a time when that's going to become super important again. I think a lot of us are burnt out on technology and this false idea of connection. Even though I appreciate the fact you're watching me on a device, you're certainly not in the room with me, but this shit's important, you know. And so doing these funerals, as we're there for reasons that are sad and heavy and everything, but again, there's a lot of value in just seeing each other and hugging people, and seeing people I haven't seen in years, and just hugging them and holding them, and just like looking them in the eye and saying like, how are you, man? Like, that stuff is important. It's super important. And our souls, like, they soak it up like a sponge, and we need it. And especially, after COVID and how that messed with people's heads, and made us all really insulated, and separated us. And we can get into all that, but the bottom line is like, we're pack animals, and we need people. We need each other. And so I got to go and then do that celebration, and it went well, and it was beautiful, and everybody, felt good in the end. And there's a real sense of relief when it's over, and it was just beautiful. And then I had some on-call stuff happen with my day job, my other job, and so I had to rush off in my purple suit and do some work shit in the warehouses, and unit heaters falling, and chaos. And then I was going to a friend's birthday party. Ripped home, got changed, and then I ended up at this party for a very good friend of mine, Heather. I'm sure she'll be okay with me saying her name. She's going to be a guest death doula. She's a death doula. She's a former teacher who's now a death doula, which is somebody who takes care of the dying people, their families. She helps people with the dying process. She's a fucking amazing human being. And so it was her birthday, and I went there, and then again, just connected with all kinds of friends. And I'm sick as a dog, but I didn't give a shit. Like, when certain people call your name and want you there, you go. And it was amazing. And it just hit home how much we need each other, and how important, friendships are, and connection is. And I hope that, in a weird way, that this podcast and what I do is going to help people do that. Either re-examine their own relationships with themselves, and then maybe that makes their lives a little better, or reignite the fire of understanding that we need to connect with each other in a real way, because it does affect you, and it affects the world, and especially with the way things are right now. Things are a little bit nuts still. Like my last video, things are weird. That hasn't changed. I do believe things are getting better, but our neighbors are doing some crazy shit. The apartment downstairs is making some moves, but how we respond to that is everything. But no matter what happens, all we have is each other, and that's the best. Besides the relationship with yourself, the best thing you have is your people. and how you connect with those people. So I was supposed to do a really powerful interview today with a friend, but she deserves way more energy and focus than I was able to provide today. Her name is Bahia. She's amazing. She's going to be my guest. Hopefully going to record next week. So she'll be not this coming weekend, but the next weekend I'll be on with her, and she's an incredible human being and a like a majorly important person in my life who literally helped me. I was living in a storage unit. Things had gone sideways in my life, and I was, it doesn't sound as bad as it wasn't as bad as it sounds, but I was in a storage unit. We'll tell the story on that show. And we met online through some mutual groups, and she was this incredible force of nature that threw a lifeline into a deep dark well I was in, and helped haul my ass out. And I want to honor her and celebrate her by bringing her on the show and introducing her to you and what she does, because she's beautiful and powerful, and I want to pay back in my own small way what she did for me by introducing her to you, the viewer. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Just the power of connection and how we need each other. And I hope that in your own way, you're able to reach out and connect with people, not so much like this, even though there's value in this, but if you can get out there and just, meet people and spend time with people. And I've seen a lot of content, people complaining about how the world is. Well, we are the world, we are the world. The world is us. And you have a part in that. And so if you don't like that people don't talk, are you talking to people? And I'm not trying to be a prick, but like, are you going out there and saying hello to people? Start with the homeless, whatever, strangers. Hey, how you doing? Let's normalize being human again as AI, skyrockets to the future. Let's normalize being human. I have no issues with AI other than it might be making us a bit lazy, but I certainly use it for doing this, and it's a powerful tool. However, we are the world, we are the world. Anyway, so if you can go out there and meet people, you might run into people like my friend, who shall not be named, who did right by his lady and really showed us something special and beautiful. And you cannot see that stuff staying at home. And you don't meet people like that staying at home. And as much as we're encouraged to stay home, or maybe that's, another show about how we've been socially conditioned to be, end up where we are now. We still have to say yes to that. And so I encourage you and I implore you to get out there and just look at each other in the eye and say hi and smile and move that good human spirit around out there, because that's what we need more than ever. Episode's a little bit all over the place, but give a fellow a break. I'm feeling like a dog's breakfast, but I want to keep my commitment to you and to myself to release something every Sunday and to keep growing this and keep figuring out what exactly this celebration machine thing is. But to my buddy, who's incredible spirit we witnessed on Saturday, I love you, man. You know who you are. Incredible. And to Heather, thank you for having that party. And to Bahia, I look forward to speaking with you and sharing you with everybody that's lucky enough to see you through this. And to my lady, I'm coming up for some coffee. So thank you, folks. I hope everything is as good as it can be. And don't get down. Everything's going to be all right.